Oh, I'm tired. Just a quick update. A deal has been struck, even though we're just a little over less than 2 weeks away from the fight. Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua or Anthony Joshua Vladimir Klitschko for the IBF and WBA Super World Championship will be on Showtime live at about 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on April the 29th. Also, of course, over there in the UK on Sky Sports Box Office. And then HBO is going to have a tape delay of the fight later on that night. And the reason why it has to be on HBO and Showtime is because Vladimir Klitschko is signed to HBO. Anthony Joshua is signed to Showtime. Now, me, in my personal opinion, I'm going with Vladimir Klitschko to win just off of high ring IQ. And experience. I expect for it to be a nasty, ugly fight if Vladimir Klitschko does win, because Vladimir Klitschko, in my opinion, is going to try to tie up, and hug and get very intimate with Anthony Joshua and take away his reach and his length. Also, if you notice that Anthony Joshua doesn't move that well, and I'm really interested to see him go 12 rounds and see how he looks in rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, because if you look at the level of competition he hasn't fought anybody that's really, athletic. Even though Vladimir Klitschko is 42 years old, he's up there long in the tooth now. He's an athlete. I mean, he's going to be the most athletic fighter I feel that Anthony Joshua's fought. You also can't doubt the power of Vladimir Klitschko. He's got a very sharp and clean right hand, straight right hand down the pipe. So I expect for him to be throwing that right hand or jabbing and then holding, and then, have the referee having, to reset. Remember how Tyson Fury beat Vladimir Klitschko? He beat Vladimir Klitschko off of movement, and angles, and frustrating Vladimir Klitschko. Can Anthony Joshua do that? You have two fighters, both of them about 6'6", about 240, 250. I do feel that Anthony Joshua is getting too big. I feel he's putting on too much muscle. Just my personal opinion. I'm not an Anthony Joshua hater or anything. I'm just very critical of his career up until this point because he hasn't fought anybody. They're saying he's the best thing since sliced bread, but he hasn't fought anybody. Vladimir Klitschko is his biggest test, and then after this, he's got to fight Kubrat Pulev, or Luis Ortiz if he keeps winning. You see what I'm saying? So he's now in the deep end of the pool. But I'm really concerned about him versus Vladimir Klitschko because we've seen that in his amateur career, he has been known to be somewhat of a chinny fighter. There's also the rumors out there of Lawrence O'Colly giving him trouble in sparring, even though it was denied. But, it's not Lawrence O'Colly's place being, a fighter who just debuted to be like, well, yeah, I stopped Anthony Joshua in sparring. David Price laid some hands on Anthony Joshua in sparring. You see what I'm saying? We saw what Dylan White did to him in the amateurs. But, of course, the Anthony Joshua, big-time fans, remember, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just calling it like I see it. It's just that when you're in media and when you're media the way I am and people say, oh, who are you? You're just some guy on YouTube. No, listen, hey, motherfucker. I'm just telling you the shit you can go look up on yourself. There's a saying that goes, don't shoot the messenger. You see what I'm saying? It may seem like I'm being critical of Anthony Joshua, but I'm like this with every fighter until you do something to prove me wrong. So if he beats Vladimir Klitschko, then he's going to get nothing but praise and props from me because then I'll be able to say, okay, all right, he's got a good, solid name under his belt. But Eric Molina, Charles Martin, come on. Dominic Breazeale, come on, right? He's fighting the same caliber of opponents that Deontay Wilder's fighting, except you can say Deontay Wilder, even though they're I don't call fighters bums, even though they're fighting low tier, low level competition, still, Anthony Joshua hasn't really done anything yet, so props to him and Eddie Hearn for making this fight, but at the same time, it's like, I consider him to be the underdog, and I'm not the only one that's saying this. So I wish Anthony Joshua luck, but I'm going with Vladimir Klitschko. Does that say I want Vladimir Klitschko to win? Not really. It's just that I'm just looking at, like what I've seen from both fighters. I feel that, Vladimir Klitschko is just going to use his ring IQ. Now we know that Vladimir Klitschko, of course, because somebody I knew was probably going to bring up, well, Vladimir Klitschko has been stopped before in the past and all that, and he's been knocked down and all that. That is true. That is true. But the same punches that Vladimir Klitschko is going to have to eat from Anthony Joshua, Joshua's going to have to eat some of them too. I'm really interested in this fight, and I really want to see how he reacts. Also, shout out to Carl Froch, man. I'm sorry, Carl Froch. You know, it's going to be 90,000 at Wembley. You know. But it is what it is. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. You know, we got a nice string of boxing coming up all the way from April the 22nd until like mid-June. You know, to after Kovalev versus Ward. We got a lot of fights coming up. And of course, I'm going to be here to cover them all. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. Please subscribe. All the links to my social media are right down below in the description box. Also, visit FightView360.com for your latest boxing updates, news, rumors, whatever, press releases, promos, live streams. We're doing it all, and we're getting better. So as time goes on, I want you guys to understand that we are advancing. You know, the wood panels are going, the doors going. We're getting a much more, you know, organized setup and background. We got merchandise and gear coming. You know, we've made alliances with promoters. You know, we are doing a lot. It may not seem like it, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Oh, so let's talk about the heavyweight division. It is official that June the 3rd, Shannon Briggs is going to be taking on Fresno Quindo down in Florida for that WBA World title. We have the WBC champion Deontay Wilder, who has been ordered to fight Romain Stavern in a rematch. We haven't heard anything else about that fight yet. You have Lou DiBella, who I talked to a couple of weeks ago, says that Deontay Wilder wants to fight the winner of Joshua versus Klitschko. Joshua, being signed with Showtime, is supposed to fight Deontay Wilder. That was pretty much a part of the agreement. They had a media call a year ago about it. So the word is, if Anthony Joshua wins, he will be making his debut in Vegas against Deontay Wilder if they both keep winning. Shit, it's bit my tongue. It could be sometime this. It could be this year, at the end of this year. You know, or it could have been in the summer, but there would have to be some step-aside money involved. Anthony Joshua is the IBF champion. The next mandatory in line would be Kubrat Pulev, who's taking on Kevin Johnson of all people. I don't even know. First he fought who next? Now he's fighting Anthony Joshua. That's an inside joke for those who, you know, been watching boxing for a long time. And then the next mandatory after that would be Luis Ortiz for that WBA. You have Andy Ruiz, who's taking on Hughie Fury in June for that WBO. So the heavyweight division is pretty lit right now, depending on what you're looking for in the division. But you have to factor in, well, where does guys like Tyson Fury fit in? Well, Tyson Fury's got a shitload of weight to lose. He's got a lot of weight to lose. You know, you have Dylan White, who's rumored to be fighting Brian Jennings. I got a chance to talk to Brian Jennings' manager, Jay Prince, a couple of days ago, and they said if it does happen, you know, or as far as Brian Jennings is concerned, we can expect some news about his next fight sometime before the end of April. So I'm hoping that it's going to be Brian Jennings. David Hay, as you know, he's injured. He's going to be out for. He's not going to fight for at least another year and some change from now. He's got a basketball type injury. You got Tony Bellew, who's lurking around out there at heavyweight. He's the WBC emeritus champion, basically at cruiser, which means that he's no longer the champion, but he is kind of the champion, but he's the #1 contender, but not the champion kind of, because he has that same status as Floyd Mayweather and Vitaly Klitschko. How did he get that? I don't know. I'm interested to know what's going on with Andy Ruiz, because we haven't seen him. You know, you would think that they would have him in a nice little comeback fight, you know, to keep him active and keep his name out there. Gerald Big Baby Miller, from my understanding, is still having some type of promotional issues. He's got to start, you know, like getting some fights. You got BJ Flores, who's ranked by the WBA at heavyweight now. That's a weird situation. You got Charles Martin, Prince Charles Martin, who's still ranked by the WBC, the IBF. Yeah, the WBC and the IBF. You know, and he hasn't fought since losing his belt over a year ago to Anthony Joshua. You know, So when you look at the heavyweights, the big names that we can look at, oh, and you got Derek Chisora, you know, who's going to be taking on Robert Helenius to get, you know, he's taking on Robert Helenius to be basically a future mandatory, you know, for Deontay Wilder. And truth be told, I see Deontay Wilder fighting the Derek Chisora if he beats Robert Helenius. And who else are we missing on the list that we're not talking about? We still don't know what's going on with Alexander Povetkin, even though he's supposed to be returning soon. You know, even though he's suspended by the WBC. And also, that investigation is still open, by the way. On TstreeT Controversy, this is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. So as I said, Joshua versus Klitschko is going to be on HBO, tape delayed, and going to be on Showtime, you know, live, April 29th, 2017. On TstreeT Controversy, this is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.